All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer. P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834, coming to you live from the streets of Orange County. We're going to have an interesting show this morning, and I want to talk to you about something that is of, in my opinion, absolute hilarity, okay? We've got people trying to freak everybody out, thinking that they've got these things in space that are going to blow up your house. And they've got these weapons that are going to float around up there 25,000 miles up in the air. They're going to get you from the sky, ladies and gentlemen, right? You believe that? You really believe that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, there are some of these disinformation agents and fearmongers out there that are pushing this stuff, and people are falling for it. All right, so what do we have on our hands here? There's all this talk about China going into space and creating electrical generating systems at 20,000 miles up, and there's this company out of Manhattan Beach, I think, FULLERTON. That's another one. They're teaming up with PG&E supposedly, and they're gonna bring us electricity from space, right? You know, you can tell the disinformation agents when they never talk about what's really going on, and they give you these red herrings to play with, right? That's right. You know, folks, many years ago, a friend of mine approached me, and he said that they were going to build this this giant complex in Las Vegas, and it was going to be just a barn buster in terms of a success, right? And it was going to have a water park and a hotel and a sports arena and like an amusement park. And he said, Joe, just give me $20,000, and you know how the story goes, right, folks? And there were these elaborate plans, and you know, it was amazing. They had all these pictures and supposedly all of these you know, investors lined up, and well, what ended up happening? Well, I didn't buy into that, because I just like, hey, wait a minute, this is too good to be true. You know, the normal stuff, folks. Well, anyway, so they had a whole bunch of people come in, give them a bunch of money, and then the money disappears and the thing never gets off the ground. Folks, let me explain what all this is about, okay? I'm going to explain it to you right now. There are no satellites. The Earth is a closed system, folks, and you know, there are people out there that don't want to deal with biblical cosmology, okay? They don't want to deal with how we've been lied to about what we live on, how we got here, and the fact that the Earth is a closed system, okay? And I know some of you out there that are my followers, you know, that you even can't get your arms around this, but it's an integral part of understanding what we face, okay? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, is we're being conned in a variety of ways, okay? And what's happening is we're being lied to, okay? And they want us afraid of everything so that we won't fight anything, and we'll just curl up in a ball, and we'll just you know, assume the fetal position. I always say this because this is the intended goal of the controlled opposition and their nonsense. You know, these there's all these tech companies and startup companies out there that are going to tell you that they can generate gold out of used diapers, okay? I mean, there's all kinds of scam artists, all right? But then the biggest scam artists of them all are the governments and their space agencies, ladies and gentlemen, because the biggest fraud that's ever been perpetrated on humankind, besides Darwinian evolution, is the fact that we travel in outer space and that the Earth is a spinning ball. And this is so important that you understand this. It fits into the deception like a glove, folks. You know, The World Trade Centers were energy harvesters, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to think about this for a second. Tesla, at the turn of the century, had wireless electricity. He had energy harvesting. Ladies and gentlemen, all this space stuff is absolute bullshit. And all these people that promote all this space stuff are full of shit, okay? Energy harvesting has been around since 1900 when Tesla built these towers that literally pulled energy out of the ground and out of the air. We don't need to go 22,000 miles up to harvest energy, electricity out of the air to get some sort of solar array up there. It's on the ground already. They're hiding all this stuff from us, folks. It's already here. A lot of these buildings are free energy producers, folks. The trade towers were basically, for lack of a better term, a very sophisticated system of batteries. And their time had come to do away with them, and they killed like 5 birds with 1 stone with that demolition job. And the technology was outdated, and they've got new ones built now, folks. If you look around at some of these skyscrapers, you will be amazed at the designs. And I study these things, folks, and I've studied Tesla technology for years. And the ability to generate electricity has been with us since, I don't know, 1903, 1904, on the ground, right out of the air and right out of the ground. Tesla knew how to do it. Trump's uncle got all his patents. They've built buildings to harness electricity, folks. All this space stuff is garbage, okay? It's lies. And you know what they do? They got you believing in some fairy tale that they're going to tax the sun now. This is how they get their scams through, folks. They get people that make up all this crap, and they got these companies out there, these fake... Okay, let's look at SolarWind, okay? I think the company was founded in 2001, right? And I know there's people on the payroll, but if this company had all these patents, you think they'd have made some money by now? They were seeking funding. You know, they were raising venture capital, which is common. But, you know, in 20 years, they haven't turned out a darn thing. But now, all of a sudden, right? No, folks. They're not going to get us from space. They're going to get you from the ground. The weapons are going to be in your backyard and in your living room. You need to understand that the space weapon laser beam nonsense is fear-mongering to get you afraid, so you won't realize that the weaponry is going to be brought in by you on your property. Just do some homework on the new WIKIJOE that's coming, the new Wi-Fi systems that are coming. It operates at 60 gigahertz at the absorption spectrum of the oxygen molecules in your house. So if your heater hasn't burned up all of the air in your house, the WIKIJOE Wi-Fi router is going to render what's left of the oxygen unbindable to your hemoglobin. That's the plan. And you've got to put this WIKIJOE relay thing right outside your window because the 5G doesn't come through your walls. So you got to pick up the 5G at the window, assuming that it doesn't have that low E film on it. Or perhaps put an antenna outside your house to bring it in to connect it to this weapon. And then this WIKIJOE Wi-Fi 60 gigahertz quad band new system that you bring into your house is what's going to be the weapon, folks. They're not going to get you from the sky. They're going to get you from the nightstand next to the window. And it's because you brought the thing in. They're going to get you from the pole in your backyard because you let them put it on your property. And in the meantime, all this supposed solar electricity that they're going to be generating from the sky and beaming it down to Earth is actually going to be generated from the Earth in these Tesla towers called office buildings and these structures. And they're just going to run it through the cables and charge you for it like it came from the sky. And then they're going to charge you sun tax and sin tax and everything else. But you see, folks, there are people out there that don't want you to know this information, that are putting out all this subterfuge in Fantasyland spin. NASA's a fraud, folks. And okay, you work in a cubicle for NASA, you have a PhD, and you're looking at radio astronomy pictures of things that are being beamed to you from Fort Detrick, Maryland. I understand that. You're making $250,000 a year and you have a nice house. I understand that. That doesn't mean what you're working for is legitimate. I knew plenty of people growing up when my family lived on the East Coast that were in the mafia, and they had big houses and nice cars. They had Lincoln Continentals, and they had nice polyester suits, and and they always had barbecues with big, big nice pieces of meat and expensive wine, and the moms always wore pearls and fur coats and stuff. These people were living high on the hog and large. Doesn't mean who they were working for was legitimate. Am I making sense to you folks? The free energy production systems have been on the ground since Tesla was playing with his wireless light bulb before the San Francisco earthquake happened. I mean, this has been around forever. And now they're showing you Star Wars and Barbie dolls, and then now they got a new Star Wars movie and a new Barbie doll. I mean, come on. Does it not occur to you that this is all a bunch of nonsense? You know, here's the problem, folks. They make a joke out of the Bible, and you got these people out there that aren't Christians, and they're talking about spirituality, and they're promoting all these lies of the space agencies and the supposed technology that doesn't even exist. I mean, you got companies that have been in business for 20 years, they haven't made a dime, except, figuring out how to get venture capital to make these imaginary devices. But that's a common thing. I can't even tell you how many times, Mr. Imbriano, we have an investment opportunity for you. We'd like you to look at this company. It's got a great idea. It's even got patents. Do you realize how many patents exist on things that don't even exist, ladies and gentlemen? There are patents on things that have never even been made except somewhere on a chalkboard. Okay? Most of the world that we live in is theoretical. It's imaginary. And the real world is hidden in plain view because of the subterfuge that's being spun by the disinformation agents. You know, it never ceases to amaze me how gullible people can be. But that is because they've been raised on a steady diet of cartoons and propaganda. And so the lines between what's real and what is not are constantly blurred. And people actually live... Okay, someone sent me this video last week, and it's this guy in his backyard, and he's filming his backyard. This to me shows me what's happened to us. And he's talking about he didn't understand what was in the rain because it was making all this stuff grow. You know, and it's like, look at this, you know, my bricks are turning green, and there are these things growing on the rocks now, and these things are sprouting and growing like crazy from the rain. And so he's inferring and stating that they are putting stuff in the rain to make these weird things grow. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been to a forest up in the Northwest where you have mosses and lichen growing on the rocks and on the clay soil in the north side of the trees? Have you ever seen what happens when all of the salt and the chlorine and the fluoride is washed away from the soil after years of drought, and then all of a sudden there's pure, basically distilled water coming down? The plants just wake up and just go to town, okay? The soil chemistry changes, the alkalinity goes away, and you have the microbes in the mycorrhizae and all of these symbiotic organisms in the body, that the body of the plant and in the soil, that just come alive, ladies and gentlemen. They just come alive. It's amazing. It's amazing what happens. But these people think that there's some magical thing going on. And, you know, it's like amazing. Absolutely amazing, right? Folks, they're not putting stuff in the rain that are making the plants grow and the stuff grow on the rocks. It's the water and the organic matter that's been sitting dormant in the soil through years of drought and calcification and salt from all the irrigated water and the stuff being deposited. It comes alive, right? Just like when the sun comes out in Missouri after it rains for 3 months, everybody goes outside and goes, wow, they feel great. It's just like when summer hits and everybody hits the beach, everybody's like, wow, right? Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of disinformation out there, and it's tragic that it's being used to control us and to con us and to beguile us and to getting us to go along and accept these agendas. They're not able to generate electricity in space, folks, because in order to get something up there, okay, have you seen the so-called satellites that come crashing down? They're nothing more than these gigantic balloons with a small solar panel on them and some communications equipment. That's it. There are no satellites, folks. There are giant balloons floating around up there. And just to give you an idea, if you wanted to get about, I don't know, okay, I'll put it into perspective for you, because, you know, these people that talk about this stuff are also saying that, you know, they're getting us with these lasers from space. And don't get me wrong, folks, they've got laser weapons on airplanes. They've got laser weapons on helicopters, okay? Those exist, but they don't float around in space on satellites. Okay, if you wanted to burn a hole in the hood of a car from a mile away, you would need a laser weapon that weighs about 3,000 pounds. Now, in order to get a laser weapon that weighs about 3,000 pounds into the air and keep it up there, you need a balloon that has the surface area of about 40 acres. Okay, that's a massive balloon. That's how much lift you need to pull 3,000 pounds up into the air and keep it there. A balloon the size of about 40 acres. Now, there are other things like dirigibles, these big blimps, but look, folks, if the lasers, if you need a laser to burn a hole in the hood of a car a mile away, you need about a 3,000 pound device. How big does that device have to be to be 22,000 miles in the sky? Folks, are you beginning to see the absurdity? Are you beginning to see the absurdity of what we're being told to fear? Okay? These things are an absolute joke, folks. And these people are an absolute joke. And it's tragic. But at the same time, it's liberating to know that the controllers are so hard at work trying to confuse everybody. And the truth is so simple, folks. The truth is right before your eyes, okay? The truth does not deceive you. And truth tellers will name the name of Jesus Christ and not be afraid to talk about Jesus Christ and his sinless shed blood. But those out there, they'll talk about spirituality, or they'll talk about spiritual wars. Well, guess what, folks? The devil talks about spirituality, and the devil talks about spiritual warfare because he's a master of it. He's a master of deception, all right? So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Think about how you're being conned to curl up in a ball and think that there's no escaping what's coming. Of course, there's plenty of ways to escape what's coming. 5G can't even get into your house. Can't go through your walls, folks. You've got to put something in your window to pick it up and bring it in, or you've got to have an antenna outside to relay it and connect to the 60 gigahertz WIGIG system. Who is telling you about this? No one is talking about WIGIG. No one is talking about these 60 gigahertz emissions on what they're doing to oxygen. They're telling you that the boogeyman's going to get you from 60,000 miles up, and that it's this big conspiracy to get everybody from space, while making no mention of these devices. Now, all of these, they don't even, by the way, they don't even have the phones ready for 5G. What's out right now are 5G evolution, which is just a step up from the current frequencies they're using right now. They're still microwave frequencies. Although they're bad, they're not nearly as dangerous as these millimeter wave systems that they're working on. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the 5G agenda is really not about, you know, getting porno in your bathroom when you're taking a dump, or watching Netflix, you know, at the dinner table. It has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is putting in a communication system that does several things at once. Number one, it allows back doors to be accessed in every appliance, in every home, in every infrastructure system, in every computer, in every phone, in every water pump, delivery system, sewage treatment plant, nuclear power plant, electrical power plant, streetlight synchronization systems, water pump delivery systems, refrigeration, computers, banking, everything. You see, we're being set up for foreign governments to have remote control access to bring us to our knees. And that's truly what 5G is all about. It's the total surveillance network, and it's also a backdoor for our enemies to shut things off, to make pumps run backwards, to shut down power, to disrupt our... like I said, the next terror attack will be cyber, folks. You know, they don't need to destroy one of these free energy system buildings anymore because the prototype was taken down on 9/11. And they've got the new ones that have a much longer shelf life in full operation right now in a city near you. Just look around. And I'll tell you what, if you go to downtown Los Angeles, and you look at the Wilshire Grand Hotel, and you look at what's on the sidewalk, and it says no photography. Okay, folks, there you go, right? It's chiseled into the concrete all around that building. You can't take pictures of it. Why is that, folks? Why is that? Well, look, I said it, all right? There you go. You take it for what it's worth, and, you know, they want us afraid, and they want us, you know, literally in confusion, running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And most people are already at that point, and they've got their head in their purse, and it's been zombified with sunglasses and Wi-Fi. So, you know, they're getting ahead of the game, but they're not going to be able to win this thing because there are too many vulnerabilities in their plan. There are too many Achilles heels in this Trojan horse, folks. All right, and that's the fact. That is the fact, ladies and gentlemen. And the problem is, as long as these disinformation agents continue to spew the subterfuge and muddy the waters, because that's what's going on, it's going to get more and more difficult to understand how to come up with a cohesive plan of action to defeat all this. And that's the reason why they use these people to muddy the waters. So 5G is all about a backdoor to take us down. You know, if they want to run the sewage pumps backwards, or if they want to shut down the water treatment plant, or if they want to shut down the power plant, if they want to make the traffic signals go haywire, if they want to make the cash register stop working, if they want to make everybody's air conditioner that's got a propane refrigerant in it ignite, if they want, you know, and the smart meters are all part of this. You know, folks, don't get a propane air conditioner. Don't get a propane refrigerator. Don't get a smart meter. Don't get a Y-gig access point. Don't let them put the thing on your pole in your backyard. And there's ways to shield it. You can put a big old piece of sheet metal in front of the thing and aim it right back at it. I mean, come on, folks. You know, you could take aluminum screen and spray copper paint on it, and you know, you could block the millimeter waves with that at your window. I mean, there's so many ways to... But not from space, folks. They're not going to get you from space because there's nothing up there but a dome. And there's no way out of here but through Jesus Christ. And that's why Jesus says, I am the door. And anyone who tries to enter through anyone else is a robber and a thief. Anyone who comes in any other name but his name is not true, folks. I could go on. But for the interest of time, folks, and for the simplicity of this message, I'm going to keep it real simple, okay? Once again, they cannot generate electricity from space, but they can generate plenty of it freely on the ground with these Tesla free energy harvesters, and that's what a lot of these giant skyscrapers are. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, do you really, really think that they would tell you the truth about where they have these futuristic plans to generate electricity from? Of course not, because they want to tax the living crap out of you. They want to make it seem like it's an impossibility to produce electricity without the combustion of gas and oil and nuclear. And by the way, I'm going to be discussing the San Onofre nuclear power station and what's going on in South County very soon here, because we got a big problem. But folks, the fact of the matter is that we are being lied to about everything, and there's a bunch of people out there that are working for these alphabet agencies of the government and these propaganda arms, and the nation's enemies, for that matter, that are muddying the waters with subterfuge and hyperbole and nonsense. And then they've got their little attack dogs that you know, run around on a choke chain for them. But I'm here to tell you that enough of the lies, and the common sense is really what needs to come back to all of us, ladies and gentlemen. And I really want you to start looking around at some of these giant buildings that you see and ask yourself, what is the purpose of these things? And I want you all to study batteries. Really, just get a basic cursory review of batteries, how they have an anode and a cathode, and look at how there's three parts to the battery. You got the left side, you got the right side, you got the part in the middle. And I want you to pay particular attention to some of the way these buildings are built. And if you'll notice the big steel spike sticking up on the roof. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. On the web at wifidangers.com and thefullertoninformer.com. Email joeimbriano777@gmail.com. Folks, I am inundated with information. I appreciate the flash drives, the books, the donations. I appreciate the letters, the sweet things you sent me, the Fustar paper, all this stuff, folks. I'm telling you. Listen to me. Listen to me. I have got a ton of stuff that I'm going to start leaking out. But, you know, right now I've got to deal with the issues as they come because the media is playing a big psyop on everybody. And, you know, China and Russia and the United States, they're all in a hot tub together, folks. Don't kid yourselves. You know, I've been to parties, I've been to places, and it is shocking. It is shocking how supposed enemies are all working together behind the scenes, laughing and drinking champagne and smoking expensive cigars in the hot tub with the hotties, right? That's how it works, folks. And we're being played like a cheap fiddle, and I'm done with it, all right? So this is Joe Imbriano just telling it like it is, folks. I'm glad you tuned in. Hit the like button, get the likes up on this video. We need to get the subscriber count up because there's a lot of information that you're not going to hear anywhere else on this channel because I cut right down to the bone, okay? I get rid of all of the window dressing and all the nonsense, all the makeup, all the Max Factor, all the crap caked on, and I cut right down to the bone and expose it bare. And I just did that right now with this nonsense, with this space-based electricity crap and these space-based weapons, all right? And don't kid yourself, they can bounce stuff off the dome, folks. That's why they electrified it, all right? They electrified it when they were doing that Operation Dominic thing and they're blowing up those nuclear bombs. They're mapping it out, giving it a charge so they can run communications off the dome, and they can also beam things up and down and triangulate it. They can't get you that way, folks. But that's a big ordeal, folks, to take something and aim it to the dome and have it triangulate and come down somewhere. You got to be really special if they're going to do that to you. And that's not, they don't have all these thousands of things floating around up there that got these laser beams aimed at your leather couch in your living room, okay? Give me a break, all right? We need to wake up. And I'm sincerely asking you all to put your thinking caps on, folks. Hit the like button. And most importantly, folks, you know, we're all sinners. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. And we've all got problems. And one of the most important things we can do in this life is to stand for the truth. And the most important thing you can do in this life is to make sure you make it to the next one, and that is to accept Jesus Christ and his sinless shed blood and his finished work on that cross, and believe and accept his prophesied death, burial, and resurrection according to the scriptures as full atonement and propitiation for your sins. And guess what? We'll get to the other side when we die, folks. That's a promise. And that is a promise from Almighty God with his outstretched arm and his infinite compassion towards those of us who have an ear to listen and eyes to see, ladies and gentlemen. All right, God bless all of you. This is Joe Imbriano once again, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. That's my snail mail contact. I check it daily. God